Hi guys, welcome to a Daily Change of Mind. I'm Stephen Clemens. Today is April 9th, 2019, and I thought I would bring you another message today. It's been a little while since I've done one, but I've just been busy. But anyhow, today I thought I would bring you a video. The last one we looked at was on the resurrection concerning the actual crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and we looked at that. And I think it's pretty clear, based upon what we looked at and what we read, that Jesus in fact died on the cross. There was no doubt about it. Like I said, these soldiers, the Roman soldiers who carried out the crucifixion, were professionals. And when they say a person is dead, they mean it. That person is dead. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because later on we'll see how it plays a part, because there are some who will say, well, that Jesus wasn't actually dead on the cross. And we'll see how that plays a part later on. But I'm here to tell you up front that there is no way, no how that Jesus was not dead. Again, when those soldiers say that Jesus was dead, he was dead. No questions about it. But today I want to we're going to start looking at the burial of Jesus Christ. And we're going to do it piece by piece as we go along. And I want you to go ahead and turn to Matthew chapter 27. And we're going to start in verse 57. Matthew 27, verse 57. It reads, "When the evening was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea, named Joseph, who also himself was Jesus' disciples. And he went to Pilate and begged for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered." Because, as I stated before in one of the videos concerning crucifixion, that typically the victim would be left either be burned on the cross, or their bodies would be taken, or their bodies would be left to be eaten by the animals and whatnot to devour the body. But so Joseph went and begged for the body of Jesus, and which Pilate agreed and gave him the body. So, well, the point of this is, we're going to continue on reading. Let's go ahead and continue on reading. It says, "And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock, and he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed." Now, the point of today is the tomb. And I want to make it very clear that this tomb was not in some obscure place. It wasn't as if this tomb was unknown. I want to establish the fact that this tomb that Jesus was buried in was known. It was a accessible place. And from what we know of Joseph of Arimathea, he was part of the Jewish High Council, and he rose to high prominence. And this is a tomb that he bought for himself, and he had reserved for himself, and I'm sure other people in the High Council knew it. But again, the purpose of today's message is just to state the fact that this tomb was known. Joseph of Arimathea was not the only one who knew of it. The Jews who had Jesus crucified also knew of it. For in verse 62 of the same chapter in Matthew, we read, "Now the next day that followed the day of preparation," we will look at that on the next video, the day of preparation, "the chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that that deceiver said while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again. Command therefore that the sepulchre be made sure until the third day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say unto the people, He is risen from the dead. So the last error shall be worse than the first. And Pilate said unto them, Ye have your watch, go your way, and make sure it is as ye can. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch. So, now we have more parties involved who knew where this tomb was. The Jews, and also the Roman government. So, we know for sure so far that at least two parties know for sure of where this tomb is located. And we also know that the disciples knew, or at least Mary, Jesus' mother, and Mary, the mother of Zebedee, they knew where the tomb was also. For they followed and watched where he was laying. And if you go to like the Gospel of Mark, chapter 15, this is going to be a short video today. See here in Mark chapter 15. See, it says start in verse. Verse 45. And when he knew it of the centurion that Jesus was dead, Pilate speaking, he gave the body to Joseph, and he bought the fine linen and took him down and wrapped him in the linen and laid him in a sepulchre which was hewn out of a rock, and rolled a stone unto the door of the sepulchre. And Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of Joseph beheld where he was laid. So even they knew. So now we got three parties involved of who knew where this tomb was. So there be no doubt. Again, this is like a detective thing. We're looking at the resurrection of Christ. So we need to establish the fact that, hey, this tomb was a known place. Because there are some who say that everybody went to the wrong tomb. Which therefore, in other words, therefore, Jesus Christ didn't raise from the grave. They just went to the wrong tomb. Well, that would be false, because all you have to do is go to the correct tomb and produce the body of Jesus that was buried there. But there is no way that they went to the wrong tomb, because the tomb was known by three different parties. Jesus' mother of all people would definitely know where the tomb was, which we saw. The Jews who had Jesus crucified knew, and the Roman government knew where the tomb was. And if all they did was went to the wrong tomb, it would be in the best interest of the Jews especially, and the Romans, but especially of the Jews who had Jesus crucified, because they're the ones that said that he wouldn't raise raise again on the third day. And that's why they had that's why they sought Pilate and asked to keep watch and secure the tomb, to make sure that what they were, why they had Jesus crucified was true, that he was not the Messiah, and that he wouldn't raise on the third day. So if all that happened is somebody went to the wrong tomb, all they had to do was go to the correct tomb, and the Jews could say, look here he is in the grave. And this whole thing would have went away. So you cannot say that the tomb was unknown or lost that shortly after the death and burial of Christ. It was a known place. And like I said, we're going to go, and if he wasn't resurrected, because somehow they went to the wrong tomb and they took him to the correct tomb and produced a body, then we wouldn't have Christianity today. But there is no way that with this many people known about it, that they went to the wrong tomb. And like I said, today, that's my message today, basically, is to get us going into this burial of Christ, to show that it was indeed a known, accessible tomb, that 3 different parties had full access to keep watch over the tomb. Surprisingly, the disciples, because they fled in fear, you would think after sitting that many days or spending that much time with Jesus, and Jesus telling them that, hey, I will raise on the 3rd day, that they would also keep watch, at least take turns keeping watch over the grave, but they were gone. So, but they didn't. But the Jews, for sure, they took heed to what Jesus was saying. They didn't believe that he actually would, but they took heed of what he proclaimed and kept watch over it. So that's my message today. And like I said, we're going to go piece by piece across through this burial. The next video we're going to look at is the actual, as well, if you go back to, let's see here. If you want to start in Mark chapter 15, verse 46, the last chapter that we were in, and Joseph bought the fine linen and took them down and wrapped them in the linen and laid them in the sepulchre. We're going to look at that, the preparation of Jesus Christ. So, again, this is very short, and the whole point of it is just to show that, hey, this tomb was known. That's the whole point. We're going to take this piece by piece as we go through it, because we're trying to see if Jesus Christ truly rose from the grave. So, the first theory that some people put forth was that they went to the wrong tomb, and that's why the tomb was empty. Well, that cannot hold water, because it was known by too many people involved. It was clearly an accessible, known, verified tomb held by the Jews, and the Roman government and the disciples knew of where he was to be buried. So that's my message today, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And let's keep faithing in Christ, and we'll continue to look at this subject in more detail. And that'll be my message for today, and I'll see y'all later.